Welcome to Hard Beautiful Journey, where we embrace vulnerability as our superpower and let courage light our path. I'm Tiff Carson, here to share heartfelt stories of healing, grief, and resilience. Each week, I'll talk with guests from experts to everyday heroes about their journeys through adversity. Together, we'll uncover the beauty that emerges from life's challenges and how each experience can spark profound growth. Join us on this courageous journey of connection and transformation. Have you ever felt like you've been running on empty for so long that you forgot what it feels like to just be? This week, I'm talking to someone who brings a whole new meaning to the word softness. Her name is Ovi Paulter. She's a floral oil painter, a gentle guide, and someone who helps women who are stretched way too thin reconnect with creativity as a form of healing. What I love about Ovi is she's not about perfection or performance. She is about presence, about slowing way down, about trusting your hands and your heart again, even if life has left you feeling burnt out and numb. So I want to ask you, before we jump in, when was the last time that you created something just for you? No pressure, no outcome, just joy. And if your answer is, I can't remember, I think this conversation is going to meet you right where you are. Welcome to the show, Ovi. Hi.
Thank you, Tiff. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I love the name of your podcast. I love your podcast intro. It seems like so beautiful and just such a beautiful preamble to our conversation.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. And I know that I shared a little bit of your story in that intro, but I would love to hear it directly from you. What was going on in your life when you first picked up that paintbrush? And not to make something beautiful for the world, but for you, and to take a breath.
Finally, after many years of just living in survival in my body, in my mind, after doing everything right, medicine, therapy, after just having returned from the hospital or not wanting to be here anymore, I was told by a very smart person that I respected that I should find something. They called it a hobby. So I just picked up local community school brochure. And one of the first things I saw was oil painting, all levels. And it was a once a week class. And I started attending that class. I said I will give it a semester. And it was just, people in retirement, basically going to that class in the evenings, Tuesday evenings. And very slowly, I started thawing, I would say, thawing my numb parts that I have not used in a long time. It was a very slow process. And then, let's say, when COVID hit and I found a teacher that I matched much better with, that's when the magic happened for me. I was able to feel again certain things or allow certain things in my life that because I was doing art, just because art was the only thing that was reaching parts of me that nothing else could reach.
Mm. So what was going on in your life were you in burnout, or what was going on for you that brought you to that point?
So we need just a little bit of short history to understand properly. So when I was 16, everything crashed. My parents divorced, and my father did not love me anyway because he himself did not know how to love. His mom just dumped him on his grandfather, and he was not a very loving person when she remarried. So my father did not know how to love. That was one wound I had. And then the same year my parents divorced. I was a victim of a violent crime against me as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow after all these things happened, nobody was asking me how I am. So I stopped asking as well. I just went through life, worked, studied, eventually met my husband, moved to United States, and I just did everything right. Work, 7 years of infertility treatments, and then in particular moment when I picked up the brush, it was just everything was too much of everything. Adjusting, it has been 7 years, but still adjusting to a new country, all demons, things that not completely worked out in therapy. The thick of motherhood. My boys were 6, my twin boys. My daughter was 8. I also hold a full-time job in the office, and it was just getting too much of everything. And then I couldn't handle it anymore, so I ended up in the hospital, and then I came back. And like I said, I did everything right, the medicines and the therapy,
Mm-hmm.
but it just wasn't cutting it. And it needed to be a better way for me.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the only way, but it was a necessary component to solve this puzzle or to start finding the way out. So we can imagine you living like a fragmented person. Some parts of you stopped growing when you were 16. Something stopped there.
Mm-hmm.
And truly, I was on fumes. I don't know how to even call that. What's the next step to survival? What's the next phase when you don't feel anything? You go numb into, if you go polyvagal system way, you go into numbness where you cannot do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So the 2 years in a community school, I slowly started I was just learning the craft. I was beginning to see the glimpses of, of that 16-year-old girl, I would say. I was beginning to see certain other things like emotions that would come and I would let them be, that I would be able to let them feel. Like when I would paint a landscape from Lithuania, something that reminded me of happy times. And then when COVID hit and I found a different teacher, and finally I started painting what I wanted to paint,
Mm-hmm.
which I realized were flowers. And it was all because of my very strong connection with my maternal grandmother, maternal grandfather. And I used to spend my happiest times were summer spent with them in the garden in Lithuania. It was like a little patch of land, little cottage made just from wood, and they grew everything, fruits, flowers, but green thumb on steroids, like I call her. And all the flowers, I had all the aromas, all those memories. When I painted flowers, it was true, like taking a straw, stirring up something like a deep, dark masses of my soul. And what came on canvas, it started healing me. I'm still on a journey, and I'm probably going to be until the end of my dying days.
Mm-hmm.
But I am able to talk about everything now. I'm able to tell you what happened to me. I'm actually able, without tears and without falling apart, to tell you what I have been through,
Mm-hmm.
which is a huge, huge feat. I'm able to feel so much more. And so art was the only thing that was able to touch so deep, together with therapy and medicines and support of the people around me, was able to touch the part of me and start to heal the part of me that was just dormant for all these years. I don't know any other way to describe it. And I was putting myself back together again.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I did everything I thought I was supposed to do as an artist as well, before I started this current work that I'm doing. I painted the paintings that I knew could sell.
Mm-hmm.
I did a gazillion Instagram live sales. I painted paintings not only from my heart, but paintings that, let's say, peonies in blue and white dishes, that people would gobble up or something like that.
Yep.
Dark still lives. And then eventually that wasn't satisfying my heart. It just wasn't the whole thing. And I would say a few months ago, I stopped pushing for sales so hard. Even maybe half a year ago, I said, there's a shift happening in me. And it still was not it. My therapist said that, every single conversation we have it ends up being about art. There's something going on there. You need to explore that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Tiff, it was one night I wasn't sleeping. And that's kind of when it came to me that I would like to try teaching and see how that goes. It wasn't my idea then to teach in the format I'm doing now. So I just made an arrangement with a gift shop owner where some of my paintings were. And the response was phenomenal to my teaching style. It is very calm, very encouraging. And then it just all came together that this is what I want to do, that my grandparents who were teachers affirmed me, I feel, in a way. I was just putting the trash out and a female and a male cardinal came and they were sitting on the branches and I said, they were teachers, I'm continuing their legacy.
Yeah.
And then I just said, I want to do this for free. I want to do this for free, not because, necessarily to create beautiful paintings, even though I know how to create beautiful paintings and how to teach people to do that, but because of what it gave me, the art, that slow, just tapping with your brush on the canvas, soft without pressuring yourself to produce results for sale or marketing. That actually, the way it brought me back to life, gradually, I want to extend that to other people. And, I think we have this massive exhaustion as society, and especially women. I have a heart for women, especially. I know men are too, but I'm a woman. I can understand that better from my perspective, having lived that. And so Floral Sessions with Ovi was born. That's how I called it. And I gathered just women from my circle, from my work, from my neighbors. And we went for it. I rented a studio and I got all the non-toxic oil paints that I was
Mm-hmm.
using myself. And from my own pocket, I funded the first sessions. This happened last week. And I'm going to do this online.
Mm-hmm.
And the response was phenomenal. I would try to invite people who I thought needed it. And then I asked them to nominate somebody from their circle for the next monthly painting club. And I don't know, it just feels like it's my calling. It's like, I know this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So there's
Oh,
no doubt in my mind.
I have so many questions. So the first question that I have is when you first touched your brush onto that canvas, do you have a knowing at that moment that this was going to be one of your healing tools?
No, I did not. I learned pretty quickly that I have a knack for it and that I like the medium, but as person with ADHD, it was a very generous teacher, but we were working on the same painting for 8 to 10 weeks. It was slowly killing me because I get bored very easily.
Uh-huh.
Not until I learned how to paint in one sitting. You start and finish the same evening
Mm-hmm.
or the same time. Not until then did I start feeling dramatic therapeutic effects.
I love that. I love that became clear for you, right? What you needed in that modality. So why do you think that so many women struggle with feeling like creativity, it has to be productive or perfect or it's not worth doing?
I think creativity in general is very intimidating for us people. I think so many conversations that I have with people when I tell them I'm an artist that they say, "Oh, I couldn't draw a stick figure." So to begin with, you have that barrier. Why it's not even worth picking up a brush because, I'm not talented. But the truth is you don't have to have a talent, no matter what what you feel, even a little small spark or a little spark of interest in, be it pottery, be it sip and paint night, anything. Whatever you feel a little spark and you try it out, you might discover that you might enjoy it. But so getting over that, oh, it's not worth it because I don't have a talent. It's actually everything is learnable, everything. And why is it productivity? It's because I can tell you that my second teacher that I had, it was an online class. She was a very generous, a very good teacher. But after you learn the basics of art, the very next thing they teach you is how to sell paintings, how to, how to go into sales, how to do marketing, how to grind. And it's just like a natural progression. And I think that's how society views it, that, I have to bring up the differences in America and Europe here. I think in America, if you don't sell your art, your art is being seen as, what it's sold for. That's what it's worth. I think in Europe, where I'm from Lithuania, you can better feel the inherent value of art, the internal value of art. As a society, people, I think, go to museums much more on their leisure time. Going to an exhibition is very common as a way to spend your time, your leisure time, or to go on a date, or to go with girlfriends someplace.
Mhm.
I've as someone who was not born in America, that was a very, very stark difference to me. So I think that there's part of conditioning as a society. Productivity in America, especially, is like everything in every single facet of life. I ask mom, did you enroll your kid in enough activities? In your own education, did you reach the correct MBA or the correct bachelor or correct associate's degree?
Mhm.
In art, the same. How many quantities of paintings did you sell? Or how many pots did you make and sell? So I feel like there's a lot of things going on. It's not a simple answer,
Mhm.
but I would like to start a conversation that creativity does not have to be productivity or result, that there's value in creativity as a healing tool for us. I was very curious, why is it that I can feel so much calm when I pick up the brush? And there was a study I found that was done, just a simple study done by Drexel University, that said even 45 minutes of doing something with your hands, painting, whatever, coloring, while you're in the moment, not thinking about future or the past, just being in the moment, brings down cortisol hormone, the main stress hormone, dramatically. Just 45 minutes. So I'm like, okay, this is something I can hold on to, something that scientists say is truly powerful. And another study I found is that when you're in a group of people doing something safe, and let's say your system on survival is scanning, oh, where's the danger? Where's the danger? When you see that other people around you in a group are doing something, they're more relaxed, they're creative. And when you're doing it together, I don't remember the exact term, but you give yourself permission to create as well when you're
Mhm.
doing that in a group. And then you elevate yourself into that highest level of polyvagal system when you're not in danger for a little bit,
Mm.
when you just create, when you're just in the moment. And so I think it's very important to spread that message that creativity can be a tool to reduce your stress. It can be a tool to breathe. It
Mhm.
can be a tool to take a break from constant hammering, constant achievement.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things that you talk about is the word softness. And
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. What does that word mean to you? And why is it something that we're often missing in our healing journey?
Softness to me is the complete opposite of that go getter, A type personality, always, always, always search for results. That's what the opposite state is to me, softness. How I concretely and specifically seek softness in my life and with women in my painting club who come to my painting club, I try to create everything from speaking, soft speaking, to simple things as even a glass of wine, providing them with a glass of wine. In my instruction, I try to go soft. I try to simplify it to the point that a very not very complicated, but simplify everything, that there's no stress,
Mm.
that people can follow just as if they're watching TV. No stress. Oh, I have to make this line right. No. I try to create the atmosphere that it's stress-free. It flows. It's not like chop, 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 chop. Even time-wise, I don't say, okay, in 5 minutes, let's complete this. I try to have a natural flow. There's still structure, but only I know the structure. Only
Yeah.
I know those time frames.
So you haven't given them
And
agenda at the beginning. It's
no,
whatever happens. So let's talk
whatever
about one of your
happens,
sessions. What
yeah,
happens in one of your sessions, whether it's online or in person? Can you walk us through what you do and what it feels like?
absolutely. So as the person comes in, I try to welcome them, and I'm a hugger. If they're okay with a hug, I try to give them a hug
Mhm.
to make them feel welcome, smile at them, and I'm genuinely happy to see them because I just am. They could sit at home and just watch TV, but they're trusting me with their time. They're giving me 2 hours of their time. So I try to welcome them. Then they can take, there's no assigned seating, they can take whichever seat they would like. I offer them a glass of wine. I'm talking about in person, of course, now.
Mhm. Mhm.
And put their apron on. And once everybody's seated, and I ask everybody how they feel, I tell them that we are working with non-toxic oils, meaning there's no smells, there's just beauty, there's no pressure. And that makes people feel good, knowing that it's non-toxic material, there's no smells, and everybody loves flowers. That's another thing. I try to choose flowers that are the most popular and that bring people memories of even their own grandma's garden or their own neighborhood they grew up in. And we begin by I give them 1 minute of theory about the paints and about the flowers. Just a little bit, 1 minute of theory, not to stress them out. I just call it 1 minute of theory. And then I gently tell them, first we'll do this, and the next step will be this. So they always know what's coming next, which is important
Mhm.
for when you don't like unpredictability. It's important for people to know, what are we doing next? What's next? So I take that off the radar. And we start by toning the canvas. I tell them, now you take the big brush and you put it in this medium, which is walnut oil medium, and we're gonna use a little bit of that color, and then we're gonna tone our canvas. So the work of being in the moment begins right away because they have to cover the whole canvas with a thin wash. And so they begin doing their thing, and it sets them into being in this moment right away because they do not think about past or future, but they are concentrating on so that everything is covered corner to corner.
Mhm.
And then I go around, I give everybody their reference picture, just so that if they cannot see me that well, usually they could also have something to refer to. Once they paint, usually a picture in black and white. And for example, we painted lilacs. So then I say to them, now we're going to mix a color. And for that, I don't use fancy colors like quinacridone rose. I say, right now we're going to take this pinkish color, and with our brush and the shovel, we're going to put it on a empty space on our paper palette. And then we're going to take a little bit of the blue. And if you need help identifying which color is which, I'm going to come around, which I try to do a lot. I come
Mhm.
around a lot. I try to see one thing that's positive about what have they done so far, and I praise that
Mhm.
to give them confidence. And if nothing else, I would give them a hug.
Mhm.
And usually, we go for the little simple steps. We put the whole shape of the flower on with dark, because in oil painting, you paint from dark to light. And people who don't know each other start talking to each other as well. Oh, have you covered this? Have you did this? And I begin to see complete strangers from different areas of my neighbor, maybe will speak with my coworker. And I start to see them talking, and I start to see them smiling, which is so nice. And I say, when you finish, just let me know. If anybody needs help, just let me know. And I walk around again, and then we move on to the next step. But while I'm doing whatever is our next step. And I simplify it to the point I say, now for lilacs, I say we take our color and we just do little X's. To remember those sticking up parts are very important for the flower to lilac to look like lilac. It's like I use very simple language.
Mm.
I use very soft language. I insert anecdotes from my personal life to make it fun for them, to make them feel like they're part of something bigger. And it feels good too because they don't have to pay for it. They're getting it for free. I do have a little thing where I will give them the flyer at the very end and say, if you would like to nominate somebody else, and if you enjoyed the session, you can donate and pay it forward on that system to cover the materials and studio fee. In the middle, I would ask anybody if they need a refill on their wine. I would ask them if they need any other colors. I go around, I give them colors. Again, try to make it as stress-free as possible. We have music going in the background. And then it just, I don't know. There's something about, they learn a little bit about oils. And every single person, at the end, we take a group picture, and every single person is smiling. And I ask people for feedback privately, and they all say that I take very complicated thing and I can explain it easily,
Mhm.
and that I'm very gentle, that I'm, that I bring the energy, a good energy. So I don't know. People say such nice things about me. So
I was
I'm
just gonna ask you that, Ovi. How is watching these people, women, doing this work and doing something that definitely would be healing for them too, how does it make your heart feel in that moment?
my heart is full. It's full. It's so proud that I I want to tear up now. I'm so proud that I did not resist whatever I think is my calling, that I'm not resisting that. Thought that maybe I will not be able to teach ever, but to discover that I have a gift for teaching so late in life, and then that it can have a positive impact and make people feel lighter, that they leave even just a simple thing. If they leave my session lighter than with what they came, maybe they left a few burdens on the table. That makes me feel so good. It makes me feel so full. That makes me feel so fulfilled.
Mm. I I love that you recognize, first of all, that the selling of your paintings was no longer in line with your calling and your purpose, and that you listened to the nudge to actually teach, and you're helping other people with your gift, and it's beautiful. But what other thing that you've said before is that beauty isn't a luxury, it's a lifeline. What does that mean to you?
That means to me exactly what we touched on a few minutes before. Beauty, creating beauty is not a luxury. It's, to me, it's essential. Flowers are beautiful. So I think the word beauty is overused. So I will use the word flowers. Creating flowers or anything for that matter with your hands. I think whatever spark you feel like. So why is it not a luxury? It's because personally to me, it was a lifeline. The act sitting down at night when the kids would go to for the last 5 years after community school 2 years, I would paint when the kids would go to bed. I would paint at the kitchen table. I do not have we live humbly. I don't have a big, well lit studio. I paint in my kitchen. The whole table is covered in paints, and my family is very tender, gentle, and supports me. And they're not mad. We just cover it up with the tablecloth when guests come. And I think that a lot more people could benefit from the act of creating. If you cannot afford to go to some lessons, just doing something at home, would it be even coloring books for adults, right? Would it be coloring books for adults? You can color in something beautifully. Or even if you're a writer and taking a pen to paper and writing something, even if it's journaling, I think also expressing your thoughts beautifully, or even if it's dumping. So anything with your hands for 45 minutes, they say. And then, or crafting, or I love knitting too. That's another of my things. When I just want mindless something, I knit. And so anything, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant, small. Even if someone does not have half an hour, even buying grocery store flowers and arranging them in a vase that keeps that little door cracked a little bit open to creativity. And I think that is a part of us where calmness, purpose live. That's what I think.
Mm. So, beyond the painting and these classes that you are so generously offering for free, what else is lighting you up lately? Like, what is bringing you so much joy right now in your life?
Success of my children, hugs and kisses. The book, Five Love Languages?
Mm-hmm.
My love language is, hugs and kisses.
Yeah.
So it used to be I had to take days off from school to be with them when they're sick, or because they couldn't be by themselves. Now, if my teenagers have time off from school, I take a day off, hoping to catch a hug or a kiss between their social engagements, between their screen breaks from computer games or something.
Yep.
And so getting that physical affection from my children or hugs from my husband makes me happy, very happy. That's one of my top things. Visiting, right now is the season for flowers, right? So visiting flower farms is, or nature in general, is one of where I'm happiest. I just went locally to a peony farm. It's like it was my friend and her mom and myself, and it's just acres and acres of tree peonies, all kinds of peonies, and I was in heaven. The rain held up. It was like in a forest, tall trees. So searching out that nature, or specifically flowers for me, brings me a tremendous amount of joy and inspiration for my heart. It calms my heart, my spirit. Yeah, I would say those simple things.
So, before we wrap up our interview today, I want to know what you are grateful for today. I always ask every guest at the end of the show what they're grateful for. So, what is it for you today?
I have a few things. I'm very grateful for our interview because it's the name of your show itself. It just so well reflects, my journey, hard, beautiful journey. It feels like so right to me to be doing this today while looking at my beautiful peonies that I have brought from the farm.
Mhm.
Also, another thing I'm thankful for, I switched from every week to every 2 weeks sessions with my therapist. That's a huge step for me,
Mm.
and I'm thankful for it.
Oh, amazing. So, before we wrap up, I just want to say this. If you've been moving through life on autopilot, feeling stretched too thin, or holding your breath for way too long, maybe today's episode reminded you that there is another way, and it's a slower, gentler way, one that doesn't ask you to hustle or prove anything, but instead invites you to come home to yourself. Maybe your healing doesn't have to be loud. Maybe it starts with small movements, soft colors, or simply noticing beauty again, like in the flowers. So, if something in this conversation sparked something inside you, here are a few gentle ways to keep going. Start with a breath. You can download my free guided meditation to help you land in your body and your heart right now with no pressure. You can come away with me this October. I'm hosting the Healing Heart Retreat in the mountains of Canmore, Alberta, a 2-day in-person gathering for rest, reflection, and reconnection. All of these can be found on my website at tiffcarson.com. However you choose to move forward, I hope that you remember that healing can be quiet, and it can be slow, and it can still change everything. Thank you, Ovi, for being here and sharing your hard, beautiful journey with us and reminding us that there is beauty in slowing down.
Thank you, Tiff. Thank you so much. I enjoyed our conversation so much. Your questions are so on point, so give beautiful direction to where conversation should go next. So thank you so much.
Oh, hold on. Oh, here. This is, see, I missed this part. If you want to get in touch with Ovi, you can check her out on Instagram at Ovi Paulter Art. And she has a lot of great content on there that shows her art classes. And yeah, I absolutely love your account and following along with your journey. It's amazing. So thank you again, Ovi.
Thank you, Tiff. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Hard, Beautiful Journey. I hope today's episode inspired you to embrace your own vulnerabilities and recognize the strength within you. Remember, every story of resilience adds to the beauty of our shared journey. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and leave a review. Your support helps me spread hope and healing to even more listeners. Until next time, keep shining your light and embracing the beauty in your journey. Bye-bye.